kind of poppy, a little bit.
So 8-101 is excellent.
That one is fire.
Excellent.
They did people said it was trash. They did like a reunion episode.
I didn't watch it. I think it was a movie. I think it was a movie.
Nobody watched that shit, and they said it was trash.
Nah. Yeah. Anytime it goes to Peacock, I ain't watching.
Like some of the actors aged badly.
Look at Zoe.
I haven't seen her.
What? She's a fucking. Well, she looks like a mom.
Like
she
Mitchell
just looks like she's been a mom.
Like that nigga is 29. He looks like he's like 45. Have you seen that picture of that
rough
dude?
lives.
They live in rough lives though. But you got to remember, like a lot of these kids, dude. Like
molested.
Because dude. Before we get started, but dude, I watched this documentary about the fucking Boy Scouts, and my face is just like this the whole fucking time. Like, and I just felt disgusted. I was like,
"That's nasty." What'd they say they did?
They was like saying they was pimping out these kids and flying out niggas and straight up sex trafficking them. And
they was Epstein. They was Epstein in them.
Yeah, they were Epstein in them, and they weren't sugarcoating words. They were saying exactly what they were doing, anal. And I was like,
it was like HBO documentary.
It was a Netflix documentary.
Netflix.
These niggas covered this shit up for decades, and it was
they've been coming out with some documentaries exposing niggas.
These men who were talking about what happens to them, these men are like in their 40s and 50s. Was like, yeah, man, they raped me repeatedly, like these multiple men. I was like,
because didn't they cancel the Boy Scouts?
They said at the end of the documentary they still operated. They filed for bankruptcy, but they turned it around.
Dang, I wonder who puts up more stats, the Boy Scouts or the Popes?
No. In the documentary. Dude. Yeah, bro. So, in the documentary, there's a documentary on Netflix. They said that the Boy Scouts has more numbers than the Catholic Church.
That's disgusting, bro.
It said Catholic Church and like another institution combined. I was like, nigga, what?
Yeah, that's wild. That's too wild. That's too wild.
They said
that's why I never did the Boy Scouts, bro. I'd be knowing. I don't know.
They let this one white guy. They let him bounce from. He would rape a whole bunch of kids. And then they would take him to court, and he'd be like, "Just spare me, I won't do it again." And they let him go. He'd go to another town. He would do it again. Get caught. Please let me go. Please let me go. They let him go. He would go to another town. He would do it again. This is like in the 70s and 80s.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, it was probably easier back then because they didn't have cell phones or nothing. Jay. Because they can't just text back and be like, "Mom, someone is touching me."
Yeah, and they probably not talking, like you said, they're not talking to different chapters. See, this nigga he did this several times. I was like, how? They let these sex
offenders... Putting up more points than the Pope is crazy, though. That's crazy. That's crazy.
I just, when I think about that, like, fuck, man. Like, I just couldn't imagine that, that, like, going through that.
It happens more often than we think it does.
Yeah, because it's probably way more pedophiles than you even imagine. Like, I could imagine you go out, let's say you went to like Santa Monica Pier on a busy day, you probably passed by like 10 pedos. I would not be surprised.
What you think is probably like 10 out of 100? You think it's that many?
I think it's a lot,
10 out of 1,000?
I think it's probably like 15 to 20 out of 1,000. I think you'd be surprised.
What about murderers?
I think murderers are a lot less. I think.
What about like serial killers?
I think serial killers is probably like maybe like 1 in a million, maybe a lower than that.
Yeah, it makes you wonder. That's why that Citizen app comes in clutch. But we want to get started.
Let's get started. Yeah.
All right, let's get it.
75.
75.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to Top Tier Podcast, episode 75. My name is Paleo Poppy.
Nick Hogan here.
Yeah, man. For those watching on the video, you see the camera upgrade. It's a little buttery, right?
Big upgrade.
Much smoother. But yeah.
All right, let's get started with some sports. So I was surfing the internet, surfing Twitter, and I saw a conversation that was being had about LeBron's greatness. And they are reporting that there is a man that existed in basketball history, Brazilian player, not American, who has the most points scored of all time in all of basketball. It's about like 49,000 points.
Who?
Yeah, exactly. I don't even know his name.
Exactly.
I don't even know his name. But they're saying LeBron has the chance this season to pass that record and become the record holder for the most points scored in basketball history. LeBron just broke Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's record last year. I think he averaged about 28-something points, 28-point-something points. Had a really good season, MVP shadowing, towards the beginning of the season. You know how it goes with LeBron. But, I saw this conversation and I was kind of just thinking, like, they come up with all the different ways. I've never heard any player have so many different scenarios, twists and turns in their career in order for them to be lifted and upholded as the GOAT. Most players just need to win some rings. And then, okay, yeah, you're GOAT status. You know, you're legend status. With LeBron, we have to hold him to such a caliber, such a critique to where he has to have all types of different records. This guy already has the most points scored in NBA history. This guy already is like top 3 assists of all time, top 5 rebounds of all time, 10
appearances.
Finals appearances. What more do we need LeBron to do in order for us to be finally like, all right, we could say he's the GOAT now?
It's sad to say, but only thing that matters is victory.
Is championships.
You can be amazing. Like nobody's gonna say, let's say you were fighting a war, and it's like, well, America had the highest number of headshots, they had the highest number of bombs detonated, they had the highest number of tank shells and kill count. Did you win the war though? No.
No.
What are you talking about then? What are we talking about?
It's just sad. I think it's sad. I know that I kind of bounce back and forth with who I regard as I'll say it this way. I think Michael Jordan currently is the GOAT, but I think LeBron has the potential with just the number of seasons he's about to play. This is about to be his 21st season, right? He's going to have all statistics on his side. If you're just looking at it with just empirically, right? If you're just looking at it with just observing it from a third person angle, no bias attached, and you see a person who has the most statistics, the highest statistics in all of basketball history and all of NBA history, doesn't that just kind of qualify you as the GOAT? I mean, I know we love to say the ring argument, and that's important. You know, you got to win. But, like, Bill Russell has 11. We don't say anything about Bill Russell.
That's a good point.
He never comes up.
That's a good point. But, like, with Bill Russell, was it just... He was just there. He was on teams like a
they get on Bill Russell,
like a JaVale McGee thing. Like JaVale
McGee
it's
got Bill Russell
rings, right?
You know Bill Russell.
He was on the Warriors, though. I mean, of course he's gonna get a ring. I mean,
the only thing they say about Bill Russell as kind of like kind of to I don't want to say demean his legacy, but they say that because of the fact that there was only like 14 teams in the league, he didn't have that much competition compared to now where it's double, basically, the number of teams in the league, that he didn't have that much competition to go up against. But at the same time, it's like he's still going up against the top players in the world. He went up against guess who was coming out on top?
Well,
so
cut his rings in half. He's still better than most. He's still got more.
That's actually a good argument. That's actually a good argument.
His rings in half. He's still got 6.5. You say he's at 11, right?
He has 11. Yeah.
Oh, he has 5.5 rings. 5.5. Come on, 5.5 is.
I just kind of feel bad for LeBron, man. And I'm a LeBron hater. You know, I didn't lead out with the hate this time, but I'm a LeBron hater. You know, I really don't want to say that he is the GOAT, but it's just sad that he's like the only player in history. Like the more LeBron continues to play and just ascend and transcend the game and just his level of greatness, it makes me start to sympathize more with him. It could also just be my bias because he's a Laker now, and I'm a Laker fan. But the way that people just try to just shove all these little like weird little stepping stones that LeBron has to climb over in order for him to, eventually just become like the consensus GOAT. I just think it's too much now. The only argument I have against LeBron at this point, I used to have a lot, but the only thing I have against him now is just the fact that he loses in the finals a lot. His finals record isn't that high, isn't that good. But it's like he went to 10 of them though. So isn't that there's some positive out of that negative?
Yeah, that's the only thing I can say is like people are gonna say, yeah, you didn't win, so it doesn't matter. But like to get there that many times, I'd like. Do you think how many times did Jordan go?
6 for 6. 6 finals MVPs as well, and 2 three-peats. So it's just that level of dominance is the reason why people say Jordan is the guy. But if you look at LeBron, he's still dominating. He's just not ending up with the W's. Yeah. But then again, like, how can you? He had to go up against, like, at one point, the best team on record.
This is before the super team era. This is, like, do you think a Jordan dropped in today, like a prime Jordan?
Jordan was going against super teams. People don't consider them super teams. They think it's new and starts with the Warriors, with KD and Steph and all of them. It actually, that's not true because the Celtics '80s Celtics has super teams. If you want to call them that, you can. I'm just saying, if you look at it, it's statistically in terms of what they were going against during that time and what they were averaging during that time, the dominance that they had during that time, they were a super team. And then if you also want to include the Los Angeles Lakers of the '80s, they had like 4 or 5 Hall of Famers on that team. So that's a super team. Yeah. So people try to act like this is a brand new thing, and Jordan has to go up against those teams. And I mean, he was losing to those teams, but he was winning some of those battles as well when he got to his prime.
Yeah, 6 for 6. I mean, you can't deny it. When he showed up, he fucked him up. Like, it was basically when he got there. But LeBron is getting there more.
Dominating.
I mean, he's losing, but he is getting there a lot more than Jordan was. And I agree. He honestly is probably dealing with a much more difficult NBA. You could call him a throw off that, I think, honestly, if you want to look at it from that angle.
I think the only thing that he can do that, because if it's not going to be the stats, I mean, come on. I mean, if it's not going to be the stats, I don't know what to tell you. So I think the only thing that he could do in order for people to just be like, all right, nigga, fine, here, would be for him to get 6 rings and tie Jordan.
Yeah, that's literally the only way people.
But you know what's so funny? Sorry to cut your point, just real quick. Even if he got 6 rings, the naysayers would still say, well, all he did was tie him. That doesn't mean he's better than him.
You already know, bro. These like weirdo dudes on the internet, that contrarian dudes, there's always a reason why. There's always a reason why you'll never be right about whatever you're saying. In this case, that LeBron is the GOAT because, well, he just tied. Like, shit.
He just tied him.
His record is still worse. Like, imagine he did just win. What does he have now? 3? Imagine he just won 3 more.
He has 4.
Let's imagine he won 2 more back-to-back. They'll still just say, well, he's 4. What is it? He's 4 in 5. 4. How many times?
He'd be like 6 and 12.
Like 6 and 12, right? That's what I mean. Not 4. 6 and 12. He's 6 and 12.
50%. I'll take 50%. Currently, he is under 50%. That's why it's just kind of like that finals record is 4 for 10 is ugly. Imagine a nigga winning a game and shot 4 for 10.
Yeah,
that's ugly.
That's ugly.
I'm sorry, that's ugly.
He didn't go 6 for 6 though. He didn't go 6 for 6.
Imagine you went to go take a test and you score and you got 4 problems out of 10 correct. That's ugly.
That is ugly.
That's an F.
But like,
that's an F minus.
I feel like the difference is you were a top math student. You went to the decathlon. And you won 4 times, but you went 10 times. And,
yeah, but that nigga over there was 6 for 6.
You had to be elite to even get to the decathlon. Like you.
And that nigga way back in the '60s was 11 for 11. So it's
he only qualified 6 times though. LeBron qualified 10 times.
That's true.
So you can look at it that way.
There's a positive and a negative. You know what? There's not a positive and a negative with. We could transition over to this Adidas conversation here. So the Adidas CEO was on a podcast recently, and he has some controversial thoughts about Kanye West's anti-Semitic statements that he made last year. We all remember exactly what happened. I'm going to play some of this.
People in the world, and both in music and what I would call street culture. So he's extremely creative and has, together with Adi, created a Yeezy line, which was very successful. And then as creative people, he did some statements which wasn't that good, and that caused Adi to break the contract and withdraw the product. Very unfortunate, because I don't think he meant what he said, and I don't think he's a bad person. It just came across that way. And that meant we lost that business. One of the most successful collabs in the history.
Yeah, so if y'all don't remember, it's kind of hard not to, but Kanye West last year was let go from Adidas because of the fact that he was spewing, literally going on a press run where he was just ranting about anti-Semitic remarks, the fact that he loved Hitler.
White Lives Matter shirts with Candace Owens.
Yeah, exactly.
Kanye just has these like straight up like drug bender episodes. Like it feels like where he just for 2 or 3 weeks he is just off a fucking bean. I don't know what. It's like he's just on some crazy shit.
The odd thing to me about this is if that's the Adidas CEO speaking and saying, yeah, I don't think what he said was that bad. And I understand it's a public company, so there's a board. It's not like he's the only one that makes the decision, right? But if y'all gonna let him go over the anti-Semitic remarks and you don't even think that what he said he meant, why'd you let him go?
Dude, at the end of the day, Kanye what was he responsible for? Like 50% of their profits that particular year before they fired him?
They said that after they broke off the deal, they could lose up to $1 billion in revenue because of that.
Like, dude, like they're going to slither back to Kanye. He makes too much money.
It looks like it, doesn't it?
Like, I don't know why anybody is surprised by this. Like, we had a homie who swore, he was like, bro, they would never go back to Kanye. He was like, we should put money on it.
And what did I say? And what did I say on the show?
Yeah.
I think we did put money on it.
We might have to get his ass. We might have to.
What did I say, man? I told you. These companies like to virtue signal. That's all this is.
All cap.
It's all cap. They already know that they're probably going to lose money. So they're thinking in the long run, we might as well just cut ties with the person who needs to be canceled. So that way we can get some money on the short term, which hopefully people will forget about it and give us like some type of kudos for letting go the person that everybody else is canceling and spend more money with us. But you're missing the fact that this is the product that we want. We want Yeezys, nigga.
Exactly, dude.
We already remember when they cut ties with them and then they were like selling all of those shoes and all of the apparel in those little like warehouses or whatever. Those lines were packed.
Dude.
People don't give a fuck.
Yeezys are the new age Jordans. Yeezys are the new age Jordans.
I'd say it's bigger than Jordan at this point.
You're literally on crack if you thought they were going to let that go forever. This was all theater. I swear they probably had in the back room like, now, Kanye, we're going to have to let you go for like a year or two, but like, we're going to renegotiate. Like, we're going to handle it. Like, you already know.
At this point,
the money's too good.
Yeah, at this point, I think that Yeezy is bigger than Jordan. I think it is the biggest sneaker brand to ever exist.
Yes, I see Yeezys not anymore, but like there was a period where I would see people wearing them all the time. I was like, damn.
For like a decade.
You think it was, yeah, exactly. You think it was Jordan. Like people, when we were in middle school, Jordans were the rage, man. Everybody had Jordans. Now it's Yeezy. You think they're like, imagine if Nike let go of Jordan. Imagine if Jordans just were out flapping in the wind. That would never happen. You know how much money you would have to pay Nike to relinquish that?
He'd have to get canceled, apparently. He'd have to get canceled. Did Nike keep John Morant?
I don't know. I know they got rid of Kyrie, but I don't know about...
They got rid of Kyrie for anti-Semitic remarks. Yeah. So he would have to get canceled,
It wasn't even anti-Semitic remarks. He posted a link to a film that was, by the public, seen as anti-Semitic.
Yeah, and some would say, whatever you post on social media is how you feel.
Exactly. So they got him out of here.
So yeah, you'd have to get canceled. I just think it's very interesting, even the Kyrie thing. And he doesn't really fit into this box, so let me not include him. But I just think it's interesting that Adidas let go of Kanye West based off of the anti-Semitic things he was saying. And let me preface, I'm not saying that they shouldn't have. He deserved to have been fired. He deserved to have that contract ripped up. Can't be saying that type of rhetoric. Especially the I love, you know who? I love Adolf. You can't be saying that type of shit, right? But Kanye West is known since 2016 as being very anti-black in a lot of scenarios. There's a lot of moments that he has.
Nobody cares. Absolutely not.
And he's spewing rhetoric about that stuff. They didn't release him for the anti-black stuff. What's the difference there? I wonder. We don't have to answer
it because the answer, y'all, if you know, you know. But you know what I'm saying? Like the answer some would probably
we don't have to answer it.
I'm not gonna say anything, but like, some people get triggered when we start talking about race and class and all kinds of stuff. We're not gonna go too into there, but it's
just interesting.
It's interesting because Kanye been cooning for a long time and nobody cares. In fact, I feel like he got kind of a boost in certain circles, like the manosphere kind of right wing circles. I feel like he got a very big boost.
That's where he is right now.
That's his thing. The Nick Fuentes crowd.
Yep.
The Joe Rogans, like that's his little clique.
That's his thing.
I'm just saying because the thing I wanted to say is like, if you really think if there was a cure for cancer today, if you think that shit is coming out, you're on crack. If it was like something like, oh, here's a shot, you never get cancer again, or here's a shot for this particular kind of cancer, and it's gone like the wind, one-time payment, you're on crack. They're making way too much money on chemo and all these cancer treatments.
Where did we get to cancer and chemo? What happened?
I'm just saying the money is too good. I'm just saying the money is always going to prevail. That's what I mean by that. Like, that's what I'm saying. So when it comes, circling back.
It's like, did I zone out for a second?
Circling back to Kanye, right? They're going to let him go for a little while. Yeah, like, okay, guys, like, yeah. But they were always going to bring him back, bro. or somebody was going to pick him up and say, fuck it. You can get as mad as you want. We getting this easy money. You're on crack. Most of the people buying these shoes could give a fuck about anything.
And that's why that cancel culture shit, that argument does not exist, bro. There ain't no such thing as cancel culture.
You know he's got
I'll tell you.
Sorry, I'm going to cut you off.
No, you good. I'll tell you why. I just want to finish this one point, and then we can move on. People seem to have this real big, overwhelming conversation about how Gen Z is canceling everybody and cancel culture this, cancel culture that. Have we seen one individual? Maybe we've seen one. Have we seen 3 individuals that have been canceled mainstream and not get their career back?
Not that I know of. Alex Jones pretty sure still has a following, if I understand correctly.
Alex Jones didn't really get canceled by like people, if I remember correctly. Well, unless you want to take it all the way back. He was spreading
false information. They got him for $1 billion.
But he still had a career.
Yeah, he still has a career. I'm pretty sure he's still doing shows.
I can think of like Louis C.K.
Doja guy. I don't know if I call that a cancel.
Louis C.K. got canceled. He lost his show. He lost his main money-making scheme. That's cancellation. He wasn't doing no shows during that time. Guess where he's at, though?
Where is he at? I don't know.
He's doing shows. He's doing shows. Okay. He's back. Dave Chappelle, they tried to cancel him.
They tried to cancel him. He's back.
You think that's going to work? Joe Rogan, they tried to cancel him.
Oh, yeah, they was up his
stuff.
And him calling black people chimps and monkeys.
That too?
They didn't.
When have we ever really seen it?
Dude,
when have we ever really seen it?
The thing is, like, I don't care. Canceling doesn't work because people have devoted followings. Like, you'd be surprised. Like people have devoted followers. Like they can remove Joe Rogan off of everything, and he has to be on some like backwater website. There will probably be at least 1,000 niggas willing to pay him like $5 a month. Like you get what I'm saying? Like yeah,
you can't cancel really a lot of these people you're trying to cancel in the mainstream because they have ownership. How can you cancel Kanye West and he owns his own product? How can you cancel Louis C.K. and he owns his own creativity? All he has to do is just show up. He could fucking do it on Times Square, in the middle of Times Square, and have a fucking bucket hat out. People could just give him change.
Yeah.
It would still work.
Yeah, he can go to China, have them, or somewhere else, have them manufacture the CDs, ship them back to America, hire some people to hand them out and do the transaction, so he could just sit there and rain in money. He's like, nobody, who's going to stop him?
You can't stop these people. Yeah. They have ownership. So, yeah, but we can move on from it. You want to hit, did you see what happened with Chrisean this week?
Yeah, they say caught her at the store. It looked like it was a grocery store, and she was walking around.
It was a fucking Walmart.
And she was walking around. I think she looked like she was like dragging something, like some kind of bag or something. But on her chest, she had a harness with her newborn baby with Blueface, and the baby was just passed out limp, like facing away from her, just like this.
Bent over backwards.
Bent over like backwards, like barely hanging in the harness. And people are just recording her ass like, what are you doing? Like, I feel so like I'd be thinking, if I'm carrying my baby in a harness and the baby's limp back, I'm like, are you good, bro? I have to hold him up, like, you good, dog? And
it makes me think,
flip him around or something. Like, it was just seemed like neglect to me.
How old is Chrisean?
I think she's around our age, but I'm gonna look it up.
It makes me think, bro.
I think she's like our age. She's 23. She's younger than us.
She's 23? Yeah. Damn. And young people have children, but they shouldn't. Especially if you're in this type of toxic relationship like this. We already been knowing Chrisean don't want to be with no Blueface. She likes what comes with being with Blueface. Blueface didn't want that baby either. That video is a clear proof. Them niggas don't give a fuck about that baby. And we already been seeing what Blueface is getting in trouble with his other kid. We already been seeing that. You been seeing that?
What happened?
How he was like setting the boy up with strippers and stuff like that.
Oh, he on some the Boosie badass shit.
Right, yeah. Right. And like that nigga ain't got nothing, like no furniture in his room and shit. Like they tear them kids up, bro. I feel so bad. This is where the trauma begins. When they talk about how hurt people, it's because niggas is getting born into families with Blueface and Chrisean type
where
niggas.
you're not even wanted. You're like a political ploy. You know, you're like a ploy. You're a ploy to get clout and get money. You know, like
because Blueface,
like,
go ahead. Sorry,
like you know, I think about this all the time. Like, what's her name? She get with a lot of rappers, and she had a baby with Rob Kardashian. What?
Black China.
Yeah, I think about like Black China, the Black Chinas of the world, or like the I don't know if you could say this about Brittany Renner, but a lot of people do say this about her, where it's like, y'all have a baby for a come up. Like, do you feel love? Like, I'm not saying they don't love their children.
Brittany Renner definitely,
like,
most
I'm
definitely.
not saying they don't. I'm not saying definitively they don't love their children. But
how do we know?
That's what I'm saying. We don't know. It could be maybe they don't. But what I'm saying is, like, that baby definitely was not born with love in mind. That baby was born with greed and getting one over on somebody.
Blueface didn't even want that baby.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Blueface probably just didn't care. He just busting, wasn't using condoms like shit. He should have saw that coming. He was just being stupid. But like,
and then just imagine that child growing up, and the little boy. I think the other little boy he has with his other baby mama, I think is like of a certain age now where he's starting to notice, like, damn, my nigga, my dad is like a motherfucking dick.
Like a narcissist asshole, because that's Blueface.
He's probably like 6 or 7 years old. Imagine you growing up and this guy is just calling your mom a bitch. He calls Chrisean bitch, bro. He calls him the bitch. It's like that. Like, that's some serious shit. Like, the trauma is real. We can't be having kids no more at like a young age. I know like our generation doesn't really like fuck with having kids anymore. It's mainly, I think, just because it's so expensive now. But still, like, young people shouldn't be having kids. It just makes me think about like all the trauma that exists in the world. It's because of situations just like this. Like, there's already trauma within their relationship just as partners. And then you're just going to have a child, bring a child into this world for political, like you said, for political reasons, basically,
or not even
in order to get one up on somebody. Well, it is political.
Or political.
It's politics, though.
It's politics. Or like, I always makes me think about, like, even though this is not the same thing, but I always think about like Game of Thrones, like, or even just like, you know, arranged marriages in general, you know. And some,
it's that type of shit.
That kind of shit where it's like, there's no love. It's all games. It's all scheming. It's all financial and political. Like, it's just, there's no love there. Like, I want to be told, like, yeah, we planned you, like, you know, we wanted a child, you know, and we tried for a baby and we were in love. Like, I feel like, I mean, a child is a child, but I would not feel the same. I would not feel right if that was my story. I'm not shaming anybody that's their story.
That's why I tell men, man, like, that's what I've been saying, like, the same way that women say that they're not going to give up the pussy or you got to work for the pussy, they put the pussy on a pedestal, niggas need to do that shit with the dick.
Yeah, bro, dudes just be giving away the genetic legacy and don't care. The lust,
because now you in your Blueface situation, you're in Blueface's situation, and you have a baby with a girl you don't even really like. Fuck love, you don't even really like this girl.
Mom, which people said that he likes her way more, but they were like childhood sweethearts, high school sweethearts to a certain extent.
And he be hanging around her just as much as Chrisean.
Yeah, really? I haven't seen much. What I've understood is
it pops up so much on my timeline.
Even though I think I heard he got her a BBL. And they was making fun of her.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
It was like the worst looking BBL I've ever seen in my life.
It's nasty.
It was like ridiculous. It was just like, dude, come on. Like, the doctor was wrong for that. Like, thighs don't match for a goddamn. Like, it was ridiculous.
That's what they want. They want that Kim Kardashian look.
Yeah.
That Bugs Life. That Bugs Life look. They always
made it seem like he loved her way more, and he treats her way better than Chrisean. But he's an asshole. I mean, from what I've heard, he's like a big time narcissist. You got to be a narcissist if you have an OnlyFans reality shows where you just have women living in bunk beds and you just stand there like, now who's going to compete today to be my girlfriend?
He literally recorded himself. He literally recorded himself saying that he wanted to abort the baby with Chrisean.
That's evil.
That's going to exist on the internet forever.
Yeah, and you can't tell me that child's going to go to school and it's like, yo, your dad said he didn't want you. Which means
that kid is going to see that. Yes, he will.
You're a mistake. Mistake.
Yes, he will.
Mistake. You know, kids are fucking evil, bro.
Mistake.
Kids are fucking evil. They're gonna just start calling him mistake. Abortion baby.
That's hilarious, bro.
That's what kids are pretty evil, bro. I feel like people don't mellow out till they get to college.
They are, but hold on, because I wanted to say one last thing about the abortion shit, because like I was saying, like, we need to be more selective with, you call it the genetic legacy. I like that. Yeah. We got to be more selective with that shit, because you end up in Blueface's situation where now you want to get an abortion and you might have the ends to spot her for the abortion. But guess whose decision it is to get the abortion?
Yeah. Well, that's why a lot of men are saying, you know, a lot of people are arguing that you should be able to have a scenario where if the man doesn't want to have the baby, and the women has to agree to it, of course.
I know you're not about to say okay.
Oh
okay.
no, I'm just saying. Like I've heard people say that. I'm not agreeing with this, but they're saying that because I think if you busted a nut, you got to take care of your seed. Period. But I'm just saying, like the women can agree to it. I think that's already a thing. But like you don't have to. She can sign so that you're not legally obligated to financially take care of the baby. Is what I'm trying to say, which is a thing.
Like a different type of prenup almost, but for like children.
I guess I'm ignorant on what exactly it's called, but yeah, if the woman still wants the baby and she's okay with you not being in the baby's life, then you guys can split amicably, and you don't have to have anything to do with the child.
I think men just need to get birth control besides a vasectomy.
I think that's lame. I'm not gonna be in the first wave testing that shit. I remember I took a class, a tech philosophy class, and they were talking about how the first wave of birth control devices like fucked women up and gave the babies all kinds of defects. And
it still fucks women up,
like,
but
hell no, you got me fucked up.
Hey, a condom will get you fucked up too.
You're not gonna. I mean, it's latex, it's plastic, so maybe you might get microplastics. I don't know if it works that way. Getting the tip,
the pill gonna get you fucked up too. I think birth control just needs to happen for men. I'll be right there, Stan. I'll take it. You wouldn't take the birth control? I'll take the birth control, bro.
I'll let y'all do it, and then when I'm 50, and if I'm single, and let's say, God forbid, the relationship doesn't work out, and I'm busting nuts again, I'll try it then, because we had 2-3 decades of. I'm
gonna be looking at you like you still using the condom? You still using rubbers? Hi, dog. Join the 21st century, fam. All right, let's get to our last topic.
So there's a pretty popular YouTuber, controversial YouTuber named SNEAKO. He's
who?
Yeah, I mean, if you're not really on that YouTube, like Andrew Tate, only reason I know him is because I knew who he was. 2 reasons. I knew who he was before he started doing that Manafort shit. I actually subscribed to him. He used to make, and then I unfollowed him when he started doing that weird shit. But he used to do like these.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that.
He would walk around New York and would like just talk to people about life, and like he would do these kind of artsy, kind of like down to earth kind of documentary videos about just like life in New York and like vlogs and stuff. And he was pretty cool. Like people actually watched his content. But then he decided that wasn't making him enough money, so he was like, you know what? I'm gonna be a full on right wing manosphere, misogynist grift.
I'm gonna hit this grift. Yeah, I'm gonna hit this grift right quick.
Tap dancing to incels for money, and that's what.
So what he do?
So I gotta finish the backstory. So he's been on this Andrew Tate train about like F women and F gay people, and you got to be an alpha male and blah 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 blah. And then he revealed that he went to an orgy and let his girlfriend get smashed by another guy, and he just sat there and watched, and he didn't have sex with his other girl. So they always say he's a cuck or whatever. So
okay, Adam 22.
This is recapping the last like 1 or 2 years of SNEAKO. So anyway, he pulls up to this event, and he's like really big in the Fresh and Fit. He's been on Fresh and Fit several times, and he's been politicking with Nick Fuentes. He's that kind of guy, right?
Okay,
so,
right.
He shows up at like some kind of it looked like it was like a tunnel somewhere in New York, but he shows up at this event, and there's just all these kids standing around him, and they're like, SNEAKO, oh my God, SNEAKO. F the women, yes. F the women. They're all like in a circle around him, just like saying F the women. He's like, no, guys, stop. He's like, and then the kids are like, that's all gays. And they just kept saying it.
How old were the kids?
So the kids were like 10, 8, 9, 10, I swear.
So he's got a problem on his hands.
Yeah, so he was like, no, guys, stop. Well, we love everybody. He's like, oh my gosh, what have I done? But he was kind of
So this is the thing, right?
Yeah.
Is that most of these, and I'm not sure about all of them because I'm not really in the sphere, but the ones that I see that pop up on the timeline the most, these Fresh and Fits, what's his name? Adam Tate? What's his name?
Tate. Yeah.
Andrew Tate? Even the Kevin Samuels. Even though Kevin Samuels had a pretty nice base of women that followed him as well. But a lot of these red pill, like manosphere type niggas, I see a lot of them probably have like a lot of younger, if not, teenagers, more like around our age of people that are following them.
Yeah, dude, you'd be surprised.
People that are their base.
I feel like there are men watching. Clearly, we're going to get to why we know there are men watching these videos. But there are a lot of men, of course, who are watching these videos, but children, that TikTok shit, like I swear when I swipe sometimes, I see like these like Andrew Tate videos every once in a while. These shits have millions of views. hundreds of thousands to millions of likes. Like, and when you go in the comments, you can tell there's no way these people commenting are not older than 15, 16 years old. It's very obvious.
It must be, right?
Yeah, and like, a few months ago, they said I saw an article, they said there was a lot of teachers saying that, like, when Andrew Tate first really got big in that gap, it was like a few months after Kevin Samuels died. He kind of filled that void. That's when Tate really got big. It was like a few months after Kevin Samuels died. They said a lot of women said our children are just literally repeating his rhetoric about women just 24/7 in the classroom, and they're just starting fights and starting confrontations at school, like middle school kids, bro. Like,
I wonder what it is that really just like drives that level of interest, just drives that level of appeal. How do you have women in your life? And I could take the young children out of it because those boys were like 10, so they don't know shit, right? But like, how could you be like around like 20 or older and see that type of shit and find like an attachment to it and then start to emulate that and apply it to your own individual, your own personal life? How is that possible as like a grown, developed mind? As a man, you have women in your life and you're like, yeah, all the misogyny that they're spewing, that makes sense to me.
Because I feel like you kind of already have to believe it. When you're getting radicalized, I really believe that you have to have some kind of baseline belief in this stuff. And we had a conversation a few weeks ago about how a lot of men have a lot of internalized misogyny they don't even realize, which is the truth.
Yes.
I feel like the Tates kind of play on this insecure, like mixed security mixed in with internalized misogyny that they may not even really. Because I feel like when you see Tate, he's like goofy. I saw some Tate videos today where he's just like, yeah, you gotta have fast cars and you gotta talk like this and you gotta walk like this to be a man. And it's like, nigga, like, do you even believe you're a man? Like, why do we have to hear 24/7? So I feel like he just appeals on this. Like, Andrew Tate does everything that like what a 13-year-old thinks a manly man is. Like a nigga who just has all these tattoos, he drives all these
so yeah,
cars,
but I can understand the 13-year-old being tricked and bamboozled into siding with Andrew Tate's nonsense. But I can't understand for the life of me. I can't give a pass to the people that are our age.
I just think they just haven't grown up mentally with their views towards society and their views towards women. It's still very much like a 13-year-old kid who don't have any real experience. And I'm sure there's plenty of dudes who have a lot of experience with women who are still on that rhetoric because they probably still are children in the mind. I don't know. I don't think having experience with women necessarily develops your mind around, like if you're going to act like, some people just don't grow up is what I'm trying to say.
You know what I think it is? I think that most men, and maybe not most, but I think a lot of men are in tune with their feminine side and have a lot of feminine qualities. But the thing is that because of the type of machismo that we have to uphold in just day-to-day life, you see it in culture everywhere. You see it in movies, TV shows, see it online, social media, especially, right? Because of that, you think that you have to hold yourself to that standard of just being this machismo man, just the most masculine. You can't have any feminine. If you flick the wrist at the wrong moment, if you say the wrong thing, you say pike in the wrong sentence, nigga's gonna be like, what, pause, right? So it's all of that shit compiled onto every single man, basically, to where they feel like they have to side with they have to go even more to the extreme
to prove
of the masculine.
That's the insecurity, because like they feel like they have to prove to everyone around them that they're a man.
That they're masculine. Yeah.
In my opinion, a man is somebody who isn't afraid to be themselves. I don't care how you act. If you're not afraid to be yourself and you take care of business, and especially if you have a family, we were just talking about Blueface. Like that's some unmanly shit. Like you fucked up, you release your genetic legacy, and now you don't want to take care of your kid. I have a problem with that. Or not even just not want to take care of your kid. You wanted to have an abortion. You were disrespecting the mother of your child. So that's what I'm trying to go back to. Is like I don't understand. At least me, that's what I think. I think it's very simple, right?
I think that most men, and I think this for women as well, but since we're, let's stick with men. I think that most men would find the most happiness, the most success, and just the most peace if they were to allow themselves to figure out how to express the feminine side in like synonymously with the masculine side. I think that the most wholesome being, I think the closest you can get to a godlike being, because I believe we're all gods, demigods, if you will.
having a human experience. Yep, I agree.
The closest you can get to a godlike being is to express yourself in both capacities, masculine and feminine. If you look at anything that we've seen, like the image of like a god, and I'm not talking about like Christian gods or anything like this. I'm just talking about just like made up fantasy world. They always have a mix. The spirit always has a mix of feminine and masculine energy. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. I definitely think the source, God, whatever you want to call it, they say God is a man. I think God is both, like yin and yang, just swirling, just perfect.
It has to be.
There's never any dominance flowing between. It's just perfect 50-50. I definitely believe that. But what do you mean? I kind of curious on like, what do you mean by feminine side? I feel like that means different. That could be interpreted differently by different people.
The femininity to me is like the nurturing side. It's the vulnerable side. It's the emotional side. It's the sensitive side. All the qualities that we attribute just strictly to a woman, unfortunately. But it's because they tap more into their feminine side. So it's not a problem, I guess. But all of those qualities, I think, is what I consider the feminine side. A lot of men, that's another thing that makes them hate women so much, is that they feel like they can't vent to women.
Yeah.
Which is a real thing.
Which is a real
and like
thing.
that's a valid
That's
point.
a valid point. And I've also felt in my life, the moment I started venting, shit started going downhill. I've seen it
That's
in
when
my
breakups
own
happen.
personal life. So,
And we have to be real about that.
Some real shit. It was like, like they want you to talk about it, and then when you talk about it, it's like, nigga, that was a little too much for me.
Yeah,
You know?
that is very true.
Yep.
It's very true. I think a lot of men can speak to that same exact experience. I know I can. It's like, can you even vent to women? Y'all want us to be tapped into our feminine side enough to be vulnerable with you. Y'all want us to be tapped in enough to be able to be sensitive. I like a man who cries. Yeah, you don't.
Then when you see it, it's never been drier. As soon as it happens,
You don't like when they cry on their shoulder.
It's never been drier.
Exactly.
So
You don't want them to cry on your shoulder. You want them to cry over there in the corner alone. Yeah. Nobody can hear them. Nobody can see the tears, and then come out and satisfy you
a
again.
lot of men feel like they can't talk to other men, which is the criticism, which I understand. But the way I look at it is, if you criticize me, coming with some real shit, you ain't a real friend anyway, for one. And then two, the way I think about it is, if someone's criticizing you and you can't personally take it, like, I feel like you're afraid of being yourself, which I think is kind of a lack of being a man.
Yeah, men do not give space for men to be men. Like how your definition of a man, just being themselves, we don't allow that. A lot of men don't.
The dudes,
I think.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
I'm just saying the dudes who want to be like Tate and all this, that's not you, bro. I don't even think that's Tate. He's just selling an image. He's just grifting and pushing an image and asking for all this absorbent money to be a part of his executive crew. Like, I don't.
Most likely.
Yeah, that's Fugazi. That's not really him. That's not really you either. You think the real you is not a real man. So you hide and do other shit. I think that's cowardly.
But they do it so confidently. That's the reason why they're able to just bamboozle so many people into thinking, wow, look at him. He's so confident. Look how so he thinks that way. Oh, so if I want to appear confident, if I want to appear successful, I got to think that way too. It's a trickery of the mind, and it's sad because a lot of people fall for it, but you already know a lot of people are stupid.
A lot of people are afraid to face the darkness within. I mean, I've been through it myself, being a little personal.
What's the darkness?
I feel like the darkness is your shadow self. It's the voice that is criticizing you. For you, if you understand it as two separate entities, you understand it more. You can, like, instead of suppressing it, you let it live, but you understand that it's a part of you. Like, I've gotten to the point where I can hear the voices in my head and not associate it with me. I can just stare at it in my mind. Understand that while it is inside me and it's a part of me, it doesn't control me, it doesn't run me, and it's a separate entity. Now, it's still, we share the same body. We call it the ego. But I still deal with it.
Right.
Sometimes I get flustered and it takes over and I identify with the emotion. Mm-hmm. But as long as you can just observe it, you don't try to suppress it, you don't try to amplify it and agree with it, you just observe it, I feel like I've been able to calm down. I've learned this in the last year or two.
I've been thinking about that recently because I don't know what happened, but recently, maybe like in the last 3 years, my anxiety has just started to ramp up. Mm-hmm. I actually had a panic attack today. Don't know why. Didn't even identify. I think this is the first time in my life I've ever identified that I was having a panic attack because I'm just so used to it. I don't know how long I've had anxiety for. I just feel like it's becoming more and more noticeable to me. as the years go by. So it's that I said that to say I kind of identify what you're saying, because when I'm dealing with anxiety, and sometimes it can be like debilitating anxiety, I have to separate myself, my train of thought, in the moment train of thought, to that anxiety self who's way, way in the future, just thinking about some bullshit that hasn't even happened, that probably even won't happen.
Exactly. You have no control over what's happening. You don't know when fear. What is it? What do they call it? Fear, what is it? Fear is. It's like a power. It's like fake reality appearing real or something. It's like someone has like a perfect definition for it, but it's some future thought that, while maybe it may be based on something that could happen, it's not like it's just complete fantasy. It hasn't happened yet. You have no idea if it's going to happen that way. And even if it does happen that way, I promise you, it will never be as bad as how you saw it in your mind.
Exactly.
Even if it happens exactly the same way.
And then that's the easiest way to get over it, is just thinking like, well, what's the worst that could happen? Yeah. If that happened, what's the worst that could happen?
Right. You just gotta.
Most of the time, it's not gonna equal that much.
Most of the time, it's not gonna equal that much. You just gotta face the darkness within. And I'm not saying I mastered it, but I remember when I was younger, man, that shadow shit was running my life. You know, it's worse. Like, people can say some crazy shit to you, but when you beat the days and weeks you beat up on yourself and agree with the fucking shit, after it makes it 100 times worse. If you just take a second and be like, hey, dude, I'm going to put you over here and I'm going to just sit and understand that it's a choice for me to not identify with. I'm going to feel it, though. I'm going to feel the emotion, but I'm not going to identify with what you're doing and saying and how you're reacting. I'm over it in 5 minutes. Slights used to bother me days later. Now I can get over it in 5 minutes, and you still got to deal with it. But like, I feel like it's a mindset. Once a mindset, you understand that like you have a shadow self, you accept it, but you observe it. You let them sit over here. I feel like you can deal with way more. But that's just my personal. I don't want to ramble on it too long, but that's just my personal experience. I feel, and I feel like I've been able to come out of my shell and do a lot of shit I couldn't do in the past, because I'm actively trying to work on my shadow self and understand that it's not, it has no control over my life. But man, it's crazy how we got here from starting with SNEAKO.
I know. It's a good pod. All right, y'all. Thanks for hanging with us. This has been another great episode of the Top Tier Podcast. We'll catch you next week, same place, same time, for another episode. Peace.